it's kind of crazy to see everything that has unfolded this week. So take us through the events that have affected your family.
Well, I'm pretty strategic about my location, so it's very difficult for them to get a handle on me and figure out where I am at any given time. And so they kind of gave up trying to go after me. So they went after my family instead. They first my dad and my sister, and they continue to this hour actually to get random pizza deliveries. Doesn't matter how many times I tell the pizza delivery people to stop, they continue to try to deliver pizzas to their addresses, which, at this point, it's not spooky to my dad. He thinks it's like, okay, fine, you're going to keep doing it, and the pizza places are going to have to keep paying for it, I guess. But it was really terrifying for my dad when he was swatted initially, because he had never, I come from a blue collar family that they're not chronically on the internet. They're not constantly watching TV. And my dad had no idea what swatting was. This whole concept was totally foreign to him. So when a dozen cops start trying to break down his door in the middle of the night with guns drawn, you can imagine, he sees them surrounding the house with flashlights, looking in the window. You can only imagine the terror that causes. And that's the entire point here. They are trying to terrorize us and our families, to shut us up. That's where we're at this point. And as you saw, I was one of the first, but definitely wasn't the last. It's been happening to a lot of us, especially on X in this past week.
So walk me through this again. I really want our audience to get clear on what's going on here. I mean, that they already are trying to go after you personally, but what you're saying is you're pretty careful and they can't find you. So then they start going after family members and tracking them down and having this happen to them. Does it come along with, messages and other forms of threats? Tell us more about that.
So right before this happened, my sister actually got an email calling me a Nazi, and she works for the government. I'll just say that much. And so they actually sent it to her government email, which was a very, very stupid idea, because now at this point, now you have government authorities looking at harassing, threatening emails being sent to government employees. So that opened up a new can of worms that brings other investigative agencies into it. And she's not, this is funny. She's not involved in politics at all, doesn't even agree with my politics. They just assume that she does. And so they harass her. And then they mentioned in that specific email that my parents were to blame for this. And then all of a sudden, both of them end up getting swatted. So.
Well, you wrote on X that we don't have time to wait, that there are more conservatives that are being swatted as we speak, that many aren't even revealed publicly, and that Pam Bondi must make it crystal clear that the DOJ will pursue these cases and innocent people will be getting killed if the FBI and DOJ don't intervene immediately. So what do you want to see done at this point?
Chad Pergram has more.
Griff, lawmakers always face threats. They're high-profile individuals, but the murder in cold blood of
Okay, well, welcome to Investigate Everything. Another technical glitch, I suppose. So I wanted to talk really quickly tonight about all the swatting that's going on. I don't know what happened to the sound on that, but that's okay because I have the tabs up. My name is Brian O'Shea. I'm your host. Sorry for getting started extremely late tonight, but them's the breaks, I guess. So what's happening right now in the past week, a number of conservative influencers have been swatted. Now, what is swatting? Swatting is when some jackwad calls the police and they report that there's a hostage situation in a certain location to get the police to show up and hopefully shoot you. So they might call in and say, oh, hey, Brian O'Shea's holding a hostage at gunpoint, and then all of a sudden the police rush in, and if I don't handle that situation calmly and no sound again. Okay. Got it. Okay. Hey, K-Man 666, do I have sound now? Well, hopefully I do. All right. So anyways, and someone give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. I just want to make sure we're good. I've had all sorts of problems lately. Okay, so anyways, that's where we're at. So all these conservative influencers are getting swatted. That's when someone makes like a prank phone call. Great, thank you, K-Man. Appreciate it, and appreciate you coming back. And it used to be back in the day, and it's a shame that the video didn't play because there was a good explanation of what swatting is, and it goes back to the 70s. So it used to be like crank calling, ordering pizzas to someone's house, that sort of thing. Yeah. So, thanks. Good to see you, Culkin. So what's happened this week, which is really, really interesting, and I'll do some video this weekend so we can kind of get into this. But when I see all this swatting happening, it is amazing to me just how much. And if you start connecting the dots, it looks really, really suspect. So, what I want to do here is I'm going to share my screen, and I just want to show you this. So I'm going to use Grok for this because it's actually really good. Just to kind of pull this up really quickly. So here we go. All right. So if we go into Grok over here, and you might not be able to see. So I go to Grok and I say, which conservative influencers have been swatted this, let's say in the last 30 days, in the last 30 days. This is shocking. If you haven't been following this story, hopefully you have. All right, so what it's doing right now is going through all the different web pages. So let me read this to you. Based on available information, several conservative influencers have been targeted by swatting incidents in the last 30 days, specifically within the period leading up to March 14th, 2025. So here we go. 2025. Chase Geiser, an InfoWars reporter, was swatted twice within 12 hours around March 12th, 2025. He described police surrounding his home, handcuffing him, and receiving a fake call, claiming he had threatened to kill his family. Joe Pags, another conservative influencer, and these people all have big followings on X, but also they have shows and huge followings on their shows. Joe Pags, a conservative radio talk show host, good guy, by the way, he's interviewed my wife several times, swatted in the early hours of March 12th. He reported an armed man at his door, initially mistaking him for an intruder, and noted the incident could have led to a deadly confrontation. Gunther Eagleman, another big X-influencer, a political commentator, swatted on March 13th, 2025 with a fake hostage situation reported at his home. He confirmed his family's safety and cooperation with law enforcement. Nick Sorter, an independent journalist, reported his father and sister were swatted overnight between March 12th and March 13th. He described police attempting to break into his father's home based on a false claim of familial violence. Sean Farash, a Trump impersonator and commentator, swatted again on March 13th, 2025. He recounted police responding to a fabricated murder and suicide by cop scenario, leaving his wife shaken. And finally, Cat Turd. If you follow Cat Turd, that's his X name. A popular anonymous conservative X personality with over 3.4 million followers, swatted for the fourth time on March 13th, 2025. He noted local police recognized the pattern from prior incidents, and they responded minimally. So that's what's happening this week. And I just want to, kind of point out the timing of everything. Okay. So earlier this week, we talked about what was going on with the Tesla fires, right? So there's all these Tesla fires and people vandalizing Tesla showrooms. That started back in January, but really intensified again this week. What also happened this week? Well, there were the Tesla protests, as we saw from my show, I guess 2 nights ago. These things were all planned, scheduled, everything like that. So, and we're talking thousands of them across the world. Okay, so then what else happened? What else happened this week? So let's think about this. When we look at these things, when we look at incidents like this, I mean, it is no accident that 8 massive contributors and conservative influencers were all swatted. And I do believe Marjorie Taylor Greene was swatted again. She's been swatted several times. It all happened this week. Well, what else happened on the 13th? Okay. Well, what happened on the 13th was there was a protest at Trump Tower where the protesters swarmed into Trump Tower and took it over. And this is in favor of that student who's not a citizen, who was taken into police custody for his ties or his support of Hamas. And that was massive protests all across New York. What else happened this week? What else happened this week was, it sounds like Putin kind of turned down a ceasefire from, brokered by Donald Trump, which had been accepted kind of by Ukraine. They want their security guarantee, which means troops on the ground, which we're not going to give them. That happened this week. What else happened this week? Well, the other thing that happened this week was there was massive protests, riots in Argentina over pensions. Now, what's happening in Argentina? Javier Milei, who is the president down there, he's big. He's a nationalist populist, just like Trump, President Trump, and he's kind of had to bring their economy back in Argentina. He's had to do a lot of austerity measures, which they have gotten their budget into the first ever green area in 100 years. Argentina's always had a corrupt government, just spending money out the wazoo. Very similar to what we're going through right now. Massive protests down there. There was also a massive protest in Romania on the 13th, where they were opposing what the news calls a pro-Putin candidate in the elections there. So how do these things connect? Let's stick with the ones we know. Okay, we don't know really how they connect. We're just starting this. But when I look at incidents like this with so many people we know all targeted at the same time, let's ask the why. Why would you target those conservative commentators, those influencers? Well, that's easy. You're hoping they get killed, and that way there's less dissension, less dissenting voices on the same day as your protest. That's how I read it. That's how I read that. So it could be those pro-Hamas groups, such as Jewish Voice for Peace, who also uses the Action Network to organize. These were also the people that organized all those violent protests that were pro-Hamas after October 7th. What about the Ukrainians? Yeah. I mean, it could easily be the Ukrainians. They don't want people speaking out against Ukraine. They don't want people speaking out against getting a security guarantee from the U.S. And those same commenters, those same influencers, they're very vocal against Ukraine at getting really anything, and so am I. Okay, and so am I. We haven't been swatted yet, but we've had police called on us. I've had way back in like 2021. I had 5,000 complaints against my PI license back then, saying I didn't do the job I was hired to do, even though I wasn't taking clients after 2021. 5,000, and my licensing authority in Virginia at the time had to respond to all of those. So this is a tactic. It's a tactic of desperation, but it's a tactic, and it's a very deadly one. Very deadly. Now, so that's probably the why. Someone wants to silence those voices or scare those voices or scare upcoming voices from speaking out against dumping any more money into that money pit called Ukraine. And then you have to consider the copycats, the people that just think it's, a great way to, I don't know, get attention, or who knows, maybe there's a TikTok challenge. I don't know, because there was also a children's hospital in Southern California, San Bernardino, just yesterday. They were swatted. The children's hospital. Think about that. And then the day before that, a college not too far down the street from that children's hospital was also swatted. And so we have to consider all of these things when we're looking at these. Why is this happening? Well, we don't know. Okay, honestly, we don't know. Here's the thing, though. This is zooming out and putting on my intelligence analyst hat, where I would try to, reverse engineer these major attacks and terrorist attacks, or, precursors to an actual kinetic attack. This could be someone testing our response time or seeing how it operates. And here's why. You can do this from anywhere in the world. Most of these phone calls came in with an IP address, meaning they were using something like Google Voice. You can literally do this from anywhere in the world. That should be very terrifying to people. Now, I don't know what the police are doing to try to mitigate this, but there are some things you can do on your own to mitigate it if you get swatted. Now, in the video that I couldn't show you, unfortunately, they talk about how this kid lost a video game and swatted the guy he lost the video game to, and that guy got killed by the police. Not the video game swatter, but the swatee. So I think it's important for people to know how to react to a swatting, because it does seem to be kind of a trend right now, and it's a very dangerous trend. But before we get into that, let me talk really quickly about some of my sponsors. And hopefully you guys are checking these out, because these are really good products. I only promote products I use, as you all know. So let's talk about that. The first one is the Wellness Company. I'm going to put their kit up here. I actually have a really cool QR code thing. Okay, so this is the Contagion Emergency Kit. This has everything in it you need in case of a contagion, but not only contagions. Let me get my glasses because I'm getting old. Okay, but this has, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin. I was talking to someone the other day. They take ivermectin when they get a bad flu or a bad cold. But with so many, scare porn type breakouts that are happening, it's good to know you have something to protect you in case these crazy people in the white coats actually do unleash something. And it's not beyond the pale to have lab leaks, as we all know. So it's good to have this, but also these, keep in mind, a lot of the things in the Contagion Emergency Kit, they're things you're going to have to go to the doctor to get anyways if you get certain sicknesses. That's why I like having these things on hand. especially the medical emergency kit, the blue kit over at the wellness company, which has my favorite, doxycycline, because here I am back in the Hudson Valley, which is tick central. And it's warm today. It's just a matter of time before we have the ticks and all the bugs coming out. It's good to have doxycycline on hand. We got about 100 tablets of it, all prescribed through the wellness company. And it keeps us from having to call the doctor, get a prescription, drive 45 minutes to Hannaford Brothers or CVS to pick up one pill. We've got a bottle of them. So, that's just an example. So please go to dailyclouthealth.com, use promo code everything, get 10% off, and leave them a comment too. If you like the product, if you don't like the product, that you heard about it on the show, that always makes sponsors happy. But check it out, get prepared, because if the crazy enemies of America are crazy enough to literally start swatting everyone, including children's hospitals, God only knows what they're going to unleash on us next. So it's not a scare tactic. I'm just saying best to be prepared and not need it than to be unprepared and need it. So again, that's dailyclouthealth.com, and use promo code everything to get 10% off, and mention the show. Seriously, if you buy it, mention the show. I always kind of like having a little competition with Naomi Wolf, my wife, to say, hey, look, people are buying it because I recommended it. And we have all these kits here, by the way. We have bought a lot of them. I wish I waited, because they probably would have sent it to me for free prior to them being a sponsor, but that's okay. I was glad I had it. dailyclouthealth.com. Use promo code everything, get 10% off. All right, so back to the show. All right, so when I was looking at these swattings, it really, I just see patterns everywhere. Okay, I just see patterns everywhere. Now, if it was a swatting here and a swatting there, I'd say, okay, that's different. Like the swatting at the children's hospital, the swatting at the college out there, probably unrelated to the swattings of these conservative influencers. All good people, by the way. So probably unrelated. So I don't go down too many rabbit holes trying to say everything's connected, because everything's not always connected. Sometimes we want it to be, but it's not always connected. That would be very nice, tidy package investigative-wise. So I'm going to shove those aside for now, put those on the back burner. Plus, it's different victimology. So what's victimology? Victimology is the study of victims. So in criminal justice, what you have is two types of investigations, victimology and criminology. Right now, I'm looking at the victimology of this because we know the most about the victims. We have all these guys all have something in common, and girls, and that is conservative, that is pro-Trump, and that is anti-Ukraine. So we're going to put that on our little notebook here and come back to that another time. Okay. Now, what I said on my show the other night, the danger of, say, the Action Network, is that anyone in the world can use the Action Network to launch violent protests. So if you missed the show the other night, I talked about the Action Network. And what the Action Network is a CRM, I think it's customer resource management type software like Salesforce that allows you to pretty much call up protests anywhere in the world, from anywhere in the world, for $10 to $100 subscriptions. So that's like dropping artillery on a city if you unleash some of these violent protests. It's not hyperbole, because when you go to the Action Network's site, you see that BLM is one of their customers that they're proud to display. Why do I bring that up with regard to the swatting? Because it's the same methodology. It's remote attacks. And so it's just something to keep in mind. I don't believe in coincidences. I don't believe that we had multiple riots on the 13th across various cities. And at the same time, all of the biggest voices on X they attempted to silence them. So that's where we're at. And that's what we're doing tonight. We're just kind of laying out the facts. We're not going to solve anything tonight, but we are looking at it. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to talk about was what you can do, okay, if you get swatted. Okay, so here's how it goes down. Actually, you know what? I'm going to actually pull up one of these little interviews because he explains it really well. And this is Joe Pags. Let me just pull him up. Here we go. All right, give me a second. All right, let's add that to the stage. And while that's happening, if you don't mind, I'm just going to take a bite of my awesome steak that's sitting right there. I haven't eaten all day, but I'm watching this as well with you. But listen to what Joe Pags, he's on the left. Listen to what he says, how it goes down. And it's important that you know how this goes down so you can recognize it. And he gives some good recommendations that I second here. So check this out. Man, the sound thing is killing me. Okay, hold on. Wrong one. All right, remove that, and we're going to add this. There we go. Okay. Oh, by the way, I have a producer that might start, so I'm very excited about that. Here we go. I can give you guys a full screen on this one.
Happened the other night.
So, Jay, 2:30 in the morning. Luckily, I stay up very late, about 5:30 every morning, and I got a notification from my camera at the front door. I thought it was a bug. You know, you get a bug on a camera, something like that. Maybe the dogs had to go out and somebody let the dogs out. But no, it was a guy with a long gun, a rifle, looking in the window. He had a hat on. I couldn't tell if it was a police officer or not because the night vision happens when it's dark out. During the day, it's nice. It's a nice color camera. But I couldn't tell what was going on, and immediately, you know, the adrenaline goes nuts, and I called 911, and I got the county sheriff, and I said, "Listen, this is who I am. This is where I am. Do you have deputies at my house right now?" And in about 2 seconds, she said, "Yes. You know, we got a call because shots were fired, dogs were killed, family was hiding, for safety, and we sent out a bunch of deputies." Well, I said, "Well, that's not happening. Probably being swatted. That's not what's going on. This is who I am, public figure, television, radio, talk show host. They're doing this to people because of political reasons. Please tell them to stand down. I'll come out with my hands up, and we can diffuse this right away." So I walked out of my production studio, and there are big windows behind the studio once you open the door, and I see all sorts of flashlights in the backyard. And so there are 3 or 4 deputies in my backyard as well. So we had 3 or 4 in the front, 3 or 4 in the back, and everybody was on high alert. I mean, the guy, you see the video, I'm sure you'll show it. He looks like he's ready to go. I mean, he's got the gun in a position where he can use it. And thank God I called them first and I didn't just walk out to see what was going on. Thank God I didn't grab my gun and walk out and see what was going on as well. It was a very scary situation in the middle of the night.
So do you think this is being coordinated against other people as well?
Yes. Yeah, it appears as though at least 9 that we can count, conservatives who have a bit of a high profile have been swatted. And again, they're calling it swatting because literally somebody from some faraway area on a VoIP line that they can't really trace is calling in, pretending they're at these addresses and saying that there's distress or peril. And I believe it is coordinated. If you think about it this way, they're either just trying to shut us up and make us stop talking about what we're talking about, or they literally want us to die in the front door. Because had I walked out and done something differently, the officer, the deputy would have had every right to say, okay, this is some sort of a confrontation. Thank God it didn't get to that. But yes, I do believe it's coordinated. It seems so. I mean, the FBI director, Kash Patel, has now put out a tweet on this saying, we're well aware that high-profile, conservatives are being targeted, and we're doing all we can investigatively to find out who's doing it.
What is it about your show or what you're talking about that is making you a target?
I think what's happening is with the new administration and I'm talking about what I like that the Trump administration is doing, and instead of having a discussion of some sort and having a debate, if you will, it's easier to try to. There are some allegations that, Jay, I frankly can't back up, that it could be because people who are critical of Zelensky's handling of that meeting at the White House a couple of weeks ago, those people might be also being looked at by these bad guys who are doing the targeting. So if you're somebody who speaks out of line and not with the narrative on Ukraine or about politics or conservative versus liberal, then it appears as though you can be a target.
And so that takes it, of course, out of the sphere of just the possibility of domestic.
I'm going to stop it right there because they're going into what it could be, and on this show, which they should, but on this show we don't want to speculate. We just want to investigate. That's good. Speculate. Don't investigate. Don't speculate. Investigate. So, all right, but it's very important what he said. So I said earlier before the break, there's some things you can do. What Joe Pags did was spot on. Okay, and Marjorie Taylor Greene explained it the same way. She's been swatted more than anyone. But what he did is the first thing, and I recommend this to everyone. No, they're not a sponsor. That I ran a PI business, a security business. And so if I use the equipment, I know it's good. It's good because I test all my stuff. I actually use blink cameras at all my houses. And I mount them in, and you can use ring cameras too. They're good. But I mount them in a place where they're kind of hard to reach, so someone can't jump up there and pull it down. But what that lets you do is that lets you see who's outside your door, so you don't go out there and get shot, okay? Because it might not be the police out there. It might be a burglar or something, but regardless, that allows you to look and try to identify who's out there. And what I like about the blink cameras is they have an intercom function. So you can literally turn it on and say, hey, who are you? That sort of thing. So if it's a SWAT team, you could actually say, hey, what's going on? They'll probably yell at the camera, and you just say, okay, no one's been shot here. I'd like to come out. Give me instructions. I am coming out. I am not armed, that sort of thing. So it does give you the chance to not go guns a-blazing out into the dark because you'll get shot. And I want to state that this is tough because how long before these swatters start getting more brave and kinetic and showing up dressed as cops after they swat you? It's just, or pretending they swat you and then they just shoot you. Who knows? But the point is, at least with some cameras outside, you have that. And if you live in a suburban neighborhood, or even if you live in an apartment complex in the city, you can put a blink camera outside of your door. You're allowed to do that. A lot of people say, oh, it's invasion of privacy if I point it at the neighbor's house. No, it's not. There's no expectation of privacy in public areas. So, for instance, when I was a private investigator, we studied one case when I was doing my relicensing where this couple was having sex in their living room, perfectly visible from the street. It was a cheating wife situation. The PI took pictures from the sidewalk and they got busted. They tried to sue him for invasion of privacy, but there's no expectation of privacy if you have your windows open and people are viewing it from the street. So don't worry about that. You can put your camera up. It could be pointed at the neighbor's house. I recommend talking to the neighbor and telling them why you're doing it so they don't get freaked out. But you have every right to do that. And I highly recommend it. They're not that expensive. They go up like that. There's no wires. And they're great. If you've seen my bear videos, those are all blink cameras. The best bear videos I have. We have a lot of bears here. So that's what I recommend. Now, the other thing he did, which was really smart, was he followed the instructions. He moves slowly, and you always keep those hands visible. That's the biggest thing. You don't want to be reaching for anything. Don't reach down to mess with the dog. Just, make sure those hands are visible. Now, here's a funny story. Up here in the Hudson Valley, it's pretty sleepy. They don't have a ton of crime up here, but I bounce between here and Brooklyn, where we do have a ton of crime. So every time I get pulled over up here, because it happens, I pull over, I roll down my window, I have my license and my insurance card out, and I have them up on the steering wheel in the 10 and 2 position. So this young police officer, he's like, hey man, like, hey, how's it going? He's like, good. A license and registration. I said, they're right here. Can I hand them to you? He goes, yeah, sure. And then he said, also, can I see your vehicle registration? I said, Okay, I would like to reach into my glove box and pull that out. I am not armed. I'm just going to reach over there and pull that out to hand it to you. And he's like, yeah, sure, man. He goes, what are you, from the city or something? I said, yes. So, but that's okay. I'd rather be safe than sorry because I don't want to get shot. And I don't want to force these guys to have to shoot me. And that's the real evil of the swatting. It takes two people out, right? It takes out the innocent victim who was just sleeping in their bed. And it also takes out, look what it does to those police officers that shoot an innocent person. They're going to be under investigation. That's another police officer who's not on the street. So it's all terrible. So those are things you could do. I mean, the thing I recommend is just keep it cool. If you have a gun, okay, if you have a gun, and this is why you have the blink camera or the ring camera, put it out of sight. Okay, put it out of sight. Don't put it on the table. Don't put it anywhere. You don't want them to confiscate it. Put it out of sight. Okay, once you're pretty sure those are cops out there, put it out of sight if you have it, and then go follow their instructions. You should be fine. Another thing you can do is, and I really recommend this, actually, I did this today when I got up here because I'd been meaning to do it. If you have an audience that's even 1,000 people, you should call the police, especially now, and say, hey, I'm an influencer or I'm a public figure, I'm a minor public figure, and people are getting swatted, and I would just like you to know that I am here at this address. You may get one of these calls on me. You are welcome to come over and check right now that I'm not a crazy person. But just, I want you to know that. So if you get one of these calls and it's a hostage situation or something like that, if you would just put that and note it in your log there so you guys know what you're going into. They're still going to respond, but they're responding with a little more clarity on what the situation possibly is. And that's why it's important to have, good relationships with your local police. So that's another thing you could do. So what I say, we got the blink camera, we've got following the instructions, keeping calm, gun out of sight if you have one, turn on lights. That's not a bad idea. Have lots of outdoor lighting. Another thing too that I use, because we have like long driveways here in the country, we have these driveway chimes. So what's nice about this is it's a little like kind of like, I don't know, radar, laser, whatever, but I can put it 100 yards, up the sidewalk, or on my property for the long driveway, and it will chime when someone passes it, and it's hidden and everything like that. We have a really long driveway at the other place, so I have them set to say a certain number so I know as the person or the car is getting closer to the house. What's good about that is you're not going to wake up with flashlights in your face. You're going to be awake by the time someone gets there if you're in a more country situation. So I do recommend those. Those are good to have. And, there's many other things, and put in the chat if you've dealt with this or, you have some other suggestions. But okay, so let me take a quick comment here because this looks really interesting. Swatting is a form of criminal harassment that involves deceiving an emergency service into sending a police or emergency service response team to the other. Yes, exactly. Right on, human being. Thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. Okay, so here's one. Let's go back to the Ukraine example. So, all right, so that's what you can do. Let me kind of bookmark that there so you can follow along. And again, I think the relationships, especially even if you're in the city, it's okay to have a relationship with the police. It's encouraged. I mean, that was the whole point of community policing back in the day, where the police would walk the beat and say hi to the neighbors and the barber shop and all that. We need to get back to that, because if they know who you are, they're not going into a situation blindly. Okay, so it's a fine line. I know people want their privacy, and you don't want to be too open with the police if you don't know them. But at the same time, if you're in a place for a long time, especially smaller towns, get to know your police force, get to know your firefighters. It can't hurt. Okay. So that is that recommendation. So blink camera, follow the instructions, don't answer the door with a gun, get your lights on. And, if you have a long driveway or something, it's always good to have a driveway chime. I really like driveway chimes. Okay, so really quickly, let me talk about my favorite, Native Path. Okay, so Native Path, that is the collagen right there. I drink this stuff every single day. So I put it in my coffee, I put it in my shakes, I put it in everything. It's tasteless. My wife puts it in our baked goods when she's baking. Collagen, you need collagen literally for everything. So let me read what they have here. It supports bones, joints, skin, hair, nails, and digestion. And guys, look, guys and girls, if you feel like your hair is thinning, like you kind of hit that, I don't know. I think people can go bald at 30 these days, but let's say you're like, yeah, I wish it was a little thicker. That will actually thicken up your hair. You don't rub it in your hair, but what I've noticed is I'm 50, and when I started doing collagen every day about 6 months ago, less aches, less pains. I recover from exercise more quickly, and my hair actually got thicker, which was great. I looked in the little camera at the checkout. I was like, oh, look, it's looking thicker because my son had been making fun of me. So that is getnativepath.com/daily clout and get, they have a huge discount. I think it's like 45%. They also have, and I don't have a tab for this, but it's the same company. This is Native Hydrate. Amy, our COO at Daily Clout, she got a really bad cold. I'm sure a lot of you did with these changing temperatures. And I told her, I said, hey, don't you have the Native Hydrate at home? She's like, oh yeah, I didn't think of that. So she just started pounding that stuff yesterday, and she's almost healed. It's support for hydration, recovery, muscle health, electrolytes, amino acid drink mix. This thing, it also has the vitamin C to move those amino acids, but I got to say, when I drink this first thing in the morning, and I drink this first thing in the morning, I feel like I'm, kind of like a wilted weed coming back to life. I just love this stuff. So you can find that all at getnativepath.com. Use the promo code DailyClout to get a big discount. Okay. And, for those, you'll feel better when you get swatted. Hopefully not. All right. So back to this. Now, what's really interesting here is, we were talking about swatting. It's a shame that video didn't play, but that's okay. There was a incident some time ago in 2020 where several people were swatted, including Biden when he was the president-elect, allegedly. So, yeah, I don't think he was ever really the president, but that's for a different time. But let me pull this up here. There we go. All right. So actually, let me put this on the screen for you. So I found this document from the swatting incident that happened, and they actually indicted 2 foreigners. I thought that was really interesting. So let me read this to you, because that was pretty crazy when I read that. But yeah, they had swatted both Trump and Biden, and it's like 30 counts of swatting. This is insane. And they were doing it from, I think, Serbia and some other country from way over there. Let me just pull this up here. Here we go. Actually, I'll read the article first. Okay. So here is the article coming up now, but I'll just read it to you in the meantime while that's processing. Great. Okay. So this is from Fox News. I'll just read this to you. FBI investigating rise in swatting. This is recent. This is from today. FBI Director Kash Patel on Friday revealed that the agency is investigating a recent spike of swatting incidents after several conservative media figures said they were targeted. And all of those people that were targeted, they actually have video of it. They all have blank cameras too, which is smart. I want to address the alarming rise in swatting incidents targeting media figures, Patel wrote on Friday morning in his social media. The FBI are aware of this dangerous trend and my team and I are already taking action to investigate those responsible. This isn't about politics. Weaponizing law enforcement against any American is not only morally reprehensible, but also endangers lives, including those of our officers. And like human being said, just like this, swatting is when a person attempts to send armed law enforcement to another person's. Oh, gotcha. Yep. I think you probably got that from there. That's good. Will not be tolerated. But in this article here, what I noticed was there was a link there that basically had this. Really caught my attention. I'll tell you why in a second. All right. All right, let me just, there we go. Yeah, so what happened, so in this article, adding to the stage, there we go. Okay, that is added. Right. All right, well, screw it, I'll just read it to you. Okay, so federal prosecutors have charged, so this is August 28th, 2024. Oh, there it is, okay. Remove that and add that. Okay, there we go. All right. Feds charge 2 Europeans with swatting plot targeting members of Congress, other elected officials. One of the defendants allegedly threatened to detonate explosives days before Biden's inauguration in January of 2021. Federal prosecutors have charged 2 European men with swatting dozens of members of Congress and other U.S. elected officials, including a former president and president-elect, according to court records unsealed on Wednesday. Tomas Sabo, 26, of Romania, and Nemanja Redovanovic, I actually practiced trying to say that earlier, of Serbia, allegedly targeted roughly 100 people with swatting calls to instigate an aggressive response by police officers at the victims' homes, the federal indictment alleges. Neither the former president nor any of the lawmakers are named in the Secret Service affidavit. So here's the affidavit. This is pretty crazy. I just want to show you this. Rap sheet is nuts. When you see this, okay, PDF. Okay, so it was just so long I couldn't even read it all off. When I was reading it, it took forever to get through it. But what it indicates is that people are not only swatting from overseas, but more alarming is they are getting the information about where you live from overseas, which is not as easy as you think overseas unless you're in the hacking community, because we have been verified in a lot of those, which are fairly accurate. But in these cases here, when you go to Europe, I know this because when I tried to do work overseas, I could never really do it because I couldn't get access. But all right, so this is the sworn, this is the affidavit from the Secret Service, but I'll just read through this here, and there we go. Okay. I don't need to read it all, but through the use of telephone and other instruments of interstate and foreign commerce, willfully make threats, maliciously, destroy buildings, everything. They're just reading the code. But here, what they're talking about is how these guys, Sabo and Redovanovic, with others known and unknown, carried out a conspiracy through the following manner and means, among others. Sabo and Radnovic and others obtained personal identifying information, including home addresses for victims they wish to harass or endanger. Sabo and Radnovic and others carried out swatting attacks against their victims by falsely reporting ongoing threats of violence at the victim's home addresses for the purpose of provoking police response. You guys know the rest. Now, when you go through this affidavit, I will put the link in the show description. What really stands out at me about this thing is, here we go, the number of accounts. They also had monikers that they used on unnamed usernames to communicate with one another. Saba's monikers included, but were not limited to, Jonah Goldberg, Plank, Rambler, Warlord, Shovel, Cypher, Collectivist with a K, Mortenberg, Shekel Storms, and Not Thugging 2. Radnovic, and I know I'm mispronouncing his name, but it's just easier. XBD31, XD3, Angus, Thuggin, Thug Hunter, Not Thuggin, DCL, and AOD. Okay, so they go on and on. But the point of this is, and the reason I'm showing it to you is, it can happen from anywhere. That's why the only thing you can control is how you respond to it. The other thing you can control is whether or not you let people know you're at home. And this is why I always tell my wife and my kids, if you don't know the number, don't answer the number. Okay. Also use a VPN. I know a lot of this stuff from doing like private investigation work, because we were those people not doing swatting, but we would need to find out if someone's home address was actually their address and when they'd be there. Usually if we had to serve a subpoena or something like that, or we wanted to do surveillance on them for whatever reason the clients hired us, we had a number of tricks to get people to reveal that, yes, that's their home address, and yes, they're home. Usually we would go through their records that we could get as PIs, but you could pretty much get them anywhere. And we'd find out who their mortgage company was. Then we would call them from a number, like a number similar, like a 1-800 number that looked like the bank number, using an app called Incognito. We would get them to answer the phone, and then we would say we were from Bank of America if that was their mortgage company. And the reason we do that is because it wouldn't be uncommon for your mortgage bank to call you. So how do you get them to confirm their address? We would just say, hey, you had several overpayments in 2017, and we have to deliver this check. It's a signature verification check, so you got to sign for it. Just want to confirm this is your home address. It's and people would always ask the amount, not to verify who we are, and we'd usually say something like $1,300, something like that, 77 cents. They would always confirm their address. And then we would ask the best time to deliver it. So now we kind of have a schedule of them. That's how easy it is for these people to do it. They want to make sure you're home, so when you get swatted, you're there, and you hopefully, for them, get killed. So don't give out that kind of information. If your mortgage company calls you, if the bank calls you, if the police call you, get their number, okay, and call them back. But if it's like the bank trick, just say, okay, can I get your number now? It's not a good time. And then call Bank of America and say, I just got a call from this number. Is this your number? It's usually not going to be. Or a lot of times you could just Google the number and you'll see it's like part of a million scams. So, that's a good way to keep them from confirming your address or knowing that you're home. Okay. And so just keep that in mind. You don't have to be polite to strangers and telemarketers. I'm rude as hell to them. You can be, okay? Don't reveal information about yourself. Remember, you don't know what they're after, so better not give total strangers any information. I don't even care if they ask you your favorite ice cream, because as a former private investigator, I tracked someone down based on their favorite pizza because it was only served in one place in this certain suburb. Keep that in mind. That's what they do. So I brought that one up to show the international nature of this. Now, these could just be sickos, but I doubt it. It takes a lot of resources to get a list of people you want to target. And so you have to, just keep those things in mind, because you could just piss off the wrong person on X these days and they're going to try to swat you. And it happens more than we even know. I mean, there's so many reports of swatting. Steve Bannon of the War Room, former strategic advisor to the Trump 2016 campaign, he got swatted while he was on live air. It was crazy. And his house where he has the War Room is literally adjacent to the DOJ, and he still got swatted. They were very nice about it. It was, handled very professionally according to him. But that's crazy. Okay, that's crazy that happened. I mean, literally, when you step outside his house, because I've been over there to the war room, you have federal police right there because that's where the overflow parking is. It runs right in front of his house. So it can happen to anyone. I just don't want anyone to, a good way to shut this down is to make yourselves harder targets. Okay. And that's one way to do it, as long as you're not reacting. Okay. And again, it's a little tough because I think the toughest part is identifying whether or not those are actually police or not. And you can always, by the way, when the police, you can ask them to give you a badge number and say, can you wait right there? I would like to call the precinct. Your windows are open. I want to verify that you are actually a police officer. They might get grumbly about it. They might burst in anyways, but I do that every time I get pulled over because I don't want to get assassinated. So there's that. All right. And again, I didn't really prepare this show, so I do apologize. It's kind of rolling along, but I want people to be aware of it because this is a big thing that's happening. I think it's going to get worse. I think it's numerous actors. I think definitely someone's organizing this stuff. It's just too coordinated with everything that happened on the 13th, and those particular voices getting targeted. It's pretty obvious. Now, what can the feds do, or what can Kash Patel do to track these people down? They're not going to track them down through their IP. I guarantee that's not going to happen. The first thing I would do if I were Kash Patel and the FBI is I would call up Thomson Reuters. Clear is the product. I would call the people at TransUnion's TLO, another product, and also another one called IRB. These are all very, very powerful private investigation tools that really allow you to look up anything about anyone. So when I had access to TLO, TransUnion TLO, all I needed was your approximate age and your name. I could get your social, your date of birth, everything. And then they even introduced automated license plate reader database access. So I could see where your car was parked if it was photographed on the street up to 120 days ago. It was a great way to catch cheating spouses because why is his car parked there at 3 a.m? But that's very powerful stuff. And the thing is, it's not that hard to get a PI license. You just have to, like in Virginia, you just have to take a 60-hour course and boom, you got it. Some states don't even require a license. And then also not only PIs, but the other people that have access to those are law firms. So if I were Kash Patel, I'd be going to those 3 companies, IRB, TransUnion, and Thomson Reuters, and I would be demanding the records legally, with subpoena, whatever they do, of who did searches for those 9 influencers. That's what I would be doing. Who did searches for those 9 influencers? And then go talk to those people. It could be a law firm. It could be a PI. A lot of people hire PIs to locate other individuals so they can do bad things to those individuals. We used to have a lot of stalkers and pedophiles and would-be rapists, I'm guessing, would call my firm and try to get us to do like an investigation with surveillance on a person. And then we'd always vet everything. And a lot of times it was like the person they wanted us to do surveillance on was a 13-year-old girl or something. And of course we'd call the police and hand their name over. But there's a lot of PIs, no offense to PIs, but that won't vet their customers. They'll just take it. They'll just take the job. And they're out there doing surveillance. And they don't know what happens to that surveillance once they hand it over. So just keep that in mind. And for all of you that think someone's following you, well, maybe they are. That's the thing. Because keep in mind, the Harvey Weinstein Army of Spies, which was called Black Cube Delta, that's an Israeli firm that's set up here in the United States. What they do is they subcontract private detectives. So if you want to find out more about them, I highly recommend Ronan Farrow's Catch and Kill but he's talking about Black Cube Delta, who was hired by Harvey Weinstein, and then they subcontract all these surveillance jobs down to local PIs. A lot of times those PIs don't even know why they're doing surveillance. They just know they got a big job and they're doing it. They turn in their surveillance report and they're done. So these things all kind of work together. It's how these guys get it, or who's hitting these influencers. I think a good place to start is to see who's searching for them on those licensed sites, because they're pretty accurate sites and they're pretty powerful. And I would also start talking to local PIs and seeing, hey, did you get a job to do pattern of life surveillance on Gunther Eagleman's house in the last 50 days or something? Because if they can't confirm, if the bad guys can't confirm when you're home, they might have to hire a PI to do what's called pattern of life surveillance, where we'd get hired just to figure out someone's pattern of life. Okay. And just so you know, we always were, our jobs, we always knew why we were doing it. So a lot of times it was fraud. Sometimes it was drug dealers. Sometimes it was, criminals. But they're going to do that. So someone would actually have to sit and do surveillance on your home in order to establish your pattern of life. So that could have happened. So, and I reached out to Gunther Eagleman on DM yesterday and said, hey, we're going to look into this. Give me a thumbs up. So I'm glad to help. All right. Let me take some comments here. Okay. So the first one is, get the glasses. Sorry, my little laptop over there, so it's hard to see. Sean Farish said on War Room today he was swatted, and then later that day he had a pizza delivery. Yeah, I saw that. SKB said those are dangerous too, but didn't explain further. What is this about? The pizza one? I mean, someone could deliver a bomb to you. Someone could deliver a poison pizza. I mean, I know as much as you do on that, but, and keep in mind too, like sometimes you can order a pizza for someone or sometimes criminals will just dress as pizza delivery guys. And then you open your door and they kick it in and you're game over. That could be dangerous as well. I don't know what he's talking about in that particular case, but I would say anytime anyone comes to your house in the middle of the night with no explanation, it's trouble. Human being, the world has gone mad. Yeah, I mean, it has, human being, but has it gone mad, or can we just see more of the madness now with so much technology? You got to ask yourself that. I mean, because I kind of thought like a lot of things were pretty crazy throughout history. So has it gone mad? Yeah, look, I think it's on-demand madness now worldwide, especially with the technology we have. But I think the world's always been mad. I grew up in a family where there were, arrests of siblings and stuff. It wasn't a great situation. And then I went into the military at 18, and I started seeing things pretty early. And I realized early on the world's pretty damn mad all over the place. I was, shocked when I met people that didn't think it was mad. So I've always seen it as pretty mad. I think you're right. I think the whole world's on fire right now. I think that's by design. We can talk about that in another show. But it's gone mad. But look, there's a great line actually. And I love this line. It's from the Count of Monte Cristo, and I'm going to paraphrase it. But basically the Count is shooting his pistols at playing cards, and the young man, I forgot his name now, comes up and he says, wow, Count, you missed every single shot. And then upon closer inspection, he looked and all the spades were blown out. It was just insanely good shooting. And he said, how do you know these things, and why do you train all the time? And he said, the Count says, in a world full of madmen, one must train as a maniac. So keep that in mind. There is no cavalry, especially in the middle of the night. And that's why you should always be training. If you look at my videos, I'm always training. Okay. not always hitting the gym as much as I can, but I do something every single day to make myself a harder target, if that's practicing surveillance detection routes every time I go to the grocery store, making sure lighting is good around my house, always getting a feel for every new environment. I shoot every single day. When I can't shoot, I use iTarget Pro, which is like a laser thing that I can put a little laser bullet in and practice in an apartment. Knife, whatever it is. Because I think the world is mad. I think it's always been mad. And, when the madmen come, I want them to be facing a maniac. And that's where I'm at with that. So I hear you, man. But, let's navigate it. That's all you can do. From SWAT, Special Weapons and Tactics. That is right. Special Weapons and Tactics. It took me forever to figure that out because I couldn't figure out what the big A was and that it was AND. And then as a competitive intelligence analyst, we would learn SWOT, SWOT, which is strengths, weaknesses, obstacles and threats, or opportunities and threats. So I would frustrate people. I'm like, let's do some SWOT analysis. They're like, why would the SWAT team do analysis anyways? Good to see you, by the way, GS. Thanks for joining us. Brian, do you think that some people who work as medium psychics hire out investigators to get info so that they can claim to know things? Okay, I'm starting to think you're a psychic right now. I'm still tired because I literally was just watching Leverage yesterday, which is one of my favorite all-time shows, Timothy Hutton. It's a little cheesy, but it's about these hucksters that they're bad guys, so they help people who the police can't help. So they have the hacker, they have the strongman, they have Timothy Hutton's the mastermind, you name it. And they were outing a guy, I think it was played by Luke Perry, who did just that. He was pretending to be a medium, but he had cameras everywhere and investigators to learn all sorts of stuff about people beforehand. I don't know if it's common practice. I've had several mediums contact me when I was running a PI business to try to get me to do just that. And I'm personally, like, as an Irishman, I'm a little superstitious, but also I have ethics. And if people are believing in that stuff, great. But yeah, first of all, I don't want to mess around with the spirit world at all. Because I don't know what it is. I don't know if it exists, but if it does exist, it doesn't seem like something that's smart to piss off. And the other thing is, that's really cruel. I mean, if people think they're actually talking to their dead loved ones and you helped them, these mediums commit that fraud, that's horrible. That's horrible. At the end of the day, whether you believe in heaven or not, at the end of the day, you still got to face yourself. You might have kids. You ever want to tell your kids you're some scumbag that does that to make a living? Not me. I'd rather be poor. But yeah, I think it's definitely happens because I've had numerous times when mediums, psychics have tried to hire us. They wouldn't tell us why, but it's pretty obvious. So yeah, I think it happens. But it's crazy that you brought that up because I was just watched that episode yesterday, and this show is like, it's old, so it's just reruns all day long. But wow, it's crazy. I think I'm still tired as a psychic. And no, he didn't hire me. Jeez, I hear you. Get out my pump action. Hell yeah. Heck yeah, definitely. And, but good note on guns, make sure you practice with them in a safe way. Get so familiar with your weapon that you're not dangerous. I've got a brother, he's a great guy, love him to death, but he has a good amount of money, and he never really spent that much time in the military, never really spent that much time with firearms. Our parents wouldn't let us have them. And he has every crazy amount of firearms you can imagine, really top end stuff in a safe. And the way he handles those, I don't even like being around him because you could tell he doesn't shoot them a lot. And that to me is dangerous. So if you own a weapon, get out and practice with it constantly. And actually, if you go to, I'll play the video at the end, but if you go to my Rumble channel, I did put a short out there where I show like combat shooting versus target shooting. Target shooting is like stationary, combat shooting's movement to contact. I was trained in combat shooting, which is from the holster every time, boom, boom, and it's all muscle memory. It's very little, if any, aiming at all. But I'm very familiar with my weapons because I use them constantly. Okay, now a little life hack. 223 ammo is expensive. 12 gauge, not so much, but 223 is expensive. And, it's hard to practice with that every day without going broke. So what I actually do is I actually have an upper receiver that I change out, which with the 22. So I could shoot 22 ammo through my AR-15 just by changing out the upper receiver. It's not the same recoil, so it's not exactly alike, but really that lets me practice trigger squeeze, breathing, and sight picture every single day. And what I like about 22s is you could get a Crown Royal bag full of them for like $10, little tiny bullets. So I at least try to shoot those every day. And, a human being, by the way, you're talking here about practicing. Check out that iTarget Pro. They're not a sponsor. I should probably make them a sponsor, but check out iTarget Pro, because what it is, it's a little laser bullet, and it kind of, you hook up your phone and then it's paper target, and then the phone picks up the laser and then puts it on the target where you hit. Even has a little boom sound. It's a great way to practice that trigger squeeze, that sight picture, and your form for steadiness. It's a little annoying because you got to rechamber every time because there's no recoil, but it's it's a good way to practice. It's certainly improved my shooting for sure. And then you said making us feel like the world has gone mad is also part of a psychological operation to essentially resign to any hold on. Kind of take me down. All right. So GS says making us feel that the world has gone mad is also part of a psychological operation to essentially resign to any desire to fight or change things. It's just the opposite for me, man. I mean, the more I think the world has gone mad, the more I want to fight it. Why would I lay down? That's something you gotta, if it makes you feel that way, then I don't know. I mean, get out there and fight. What makes me want to, what wears me out is when I don't understand the target, when I don't understand what's attacking me, or, like when I first got my first gang up on Twitter back in 2019, I didn't know how to fight that. It made me want to lay down. Now I know how to navigate it. So I would say the more familiar you get with the darkness, the more familiar you get with what's out there, the more familiar you get with the variety of chaos and enemies, the more comfortable you're going to feel. You're going to get used to it. And then you're able to operate. And then you're not going to feel like resigning. I'm not saying you do, but if people feel that way, I always say face that danger. Face as much danger as you can. Try something new every day that makes you feel uncomfortable. And then that becomes a way of life. And then nothing scares you. And I mean that, like nothing scares you. So that's just my recommendation. I think the world is very dangerous right now. More so because our own home country is very dangerous. And it's going to take a while to undo what Biden did to this country and his administration. They let people, it literally was like they let the purge out, and that's going to take a while to put a lot of people back in prison, get a lot of people out of this country, and change the mindset of a lot of these people who were never committing violence, who were killing people during the riots and things we saw. So you have to be ready for that. I did a whole video where I had a machete instructor kind of walk us through machete, because so many people came in from countries where the number one tool and weapon of choice is the machete. And machete attacks have gone through the roof in this country since 2021. There's ways to mitigate those, and that's learning how to use a machete, which is actually a lot like fencing. So yeah, GS, I hear you, but it's not a psychological op. The world is pretty mad. I mean, there's riots everywhere right now. And not everything's a psychological op. Because to be honest, it's like, it's hard for many human beings, even the top level, masters of evil that we all know who they are, the Soroses, the Gates. it's hard to get people all in lockstep and coordinated to carry out the perfect operation. It really is. So some things might be intended to cow you, but sometimes it's just chaotic. And I think the chaos is not like a planned chaos, like training people to make things chaotic. Just when you remove certain barriers, when you remove borders, for instance, you're mixing all these different lifestyles, all these different ways of living, ways of interacting as communities, ways of from all these different countries that don't all match up. Look at what's going on in Europe right now. So I think just by lifting all, it's kind of like lifting a bunch of prison cell doors and letting everyone spill into each other. I think that's what the chaos is. I don't think it's to get us to give up. I think it's to kill us. Okay. I think it's to cause enough chaos where people will turn it into a revolution. It's a kind of a Leninist model, in my opinion. That's just my opinion, though. I don't know. But it's a good point you bring up, and I hear you. I hear you. Oh, and then there's this guy, Cousin Ernie, my cousin. He's my real cousin. He says, when life itself seems lunatic, who knows where madness lies? Very nice, Don Quixote. Love it. I was actually in Man La Mancha in high school. I played the priest and I played the rapist. Don't judge. Those are two roles in the play. But that's a great line. Don Quixote, one of my favorite books. Man La Mancha, definitely one of my favorite plays. So thanks. That's a good quote. Thanks for bringing it up, Ernie. Okay. And then thank you. Human being at range regularly. Good for you. I'm really glad to hear that. Everyone should get to the range regularly and try to get some people there to the range that are against guns and all that, because every single person that I've taken to the range that was against guns love guns. My own stepson was against guns, and he's liberal family. And I asked him, he was staying with us during the pandemic, and I said, hey, you want to go shoot my Mossberg? He's like, no, I don't believe in guns. I said, no, they're very real. See, there's one right there. He's like, no, I just don't want to. I said, okay, that's fine. And he had an argument with someone on the phone a few days later, and he's just fuming. And I said, hey, sounds like a good time for a shotgun. He goes, you know what? Yeah. And he went out, and I happened to have some spaghetti squash and some stuff that can explode. And he had a great time. I never seen him look so happy before then. So, yeah, I'm glad you're at the range regularly. Human being, since I moved from, and wow, what a change, from New York City to South Carolina. That is quite a change. And I bet you enjoy the freedom of it. I'm actually just an hour and a half north of the city, and I have lots of acreage and woods, and I go out right outside my back porch every day, and I shoot right into the woods. It's great. And it's a big berm behind us, so it's like totally safe. And it's our woods. So there's that. And I'll usually, shoot like a warning shot just in case someone crawled back there. But they're like impassable woods too. So, but yeah, that's good. I'm glad for you. I love South Carolina. Easy to shoot paper targets. It is easy to shoot, and you can make your own paper targets easily. If I actually like to make my own targets because I like to get creative and make them look like certain people who I won't name. But yeah. And you could photocopy people you don't like and put them on there. Just don't put it on your social media. Nice. And then, yeah, cool. And then I was at rallies at Naomi's. I am a fighter. Yeah, well, DM me. Tell me who you are then. Otherwise, it's kind of creepy. Just kidding. But I know you're a fighter, and so is she. And if you're at any of those rallies, especially when it wasn't really safe to do so, good for you. And I, salute you for that. I was at a few of those too. Sorry, bad grammar. Oh, don't worry about that. My grammar is terrible sometimes. Nice. Okay, good. And then Upper West Sider here. Oh, I was down in the West Village. We were there for a long time. Now we have a place in Brooklyn, which I like Brooklyn. But, again, the danger's there. Someone got shot like right in front of our apartment 3 weeks ago. I just dropped Naomi off. came back from parking the car in the garage, and they had my street taped off. And I was like, what's happened? They said someone went by on a moped and shot someone, and you could see the blood all over the place. I have a video of it on my X. And I was really worried. I said, it wasn't a woman with a dog, was it? And they're like, no, and she didn't even know what happened. But yeah. And they just had another moped attack today too in Brooklyn. So I don't know what's going on with that, but it's not good. But again, situational awareness. Oh, that's funny. So guys, look, I'm going to leave it at that. But what did we talk about tonight? We talked about, sorry. Guys, I'm going to push the hell out of this because you have to try this stuff. And if you have tried it, throw it up in the chat. This is another sponsor. But this stuff is so good. I sleep so good with this stuff. It is called Bioptimizer's Magnesium Breakthrough. Here you go. You're going to want to scan this code for sure and get some of this and try it out. If you have any trouble sleeping, or you think you're sleeping well, you want to sleep better and you want to have better health and everything else, one of the super supplements of my regimen. Remember, my regimen is the collagen, the native hydrate, magnesium, and then anything from the Wellness Company. I also take their bison pills, which I love. That replaced my multivitamin on the Wellness Company. But Bioptimizers, you're going to get a good discount, but you're not even going to care because this stuff makes you sleep so well. You wake up, you're just doing way better. I have sleep issues, massive sleep issues, especially since the combat days, and I guess it's a PTSD thing, they say. This has helped me so much. And I think 80% of Americans don't even get enough magnesium. Apparently you can become, it's like cretinism or something, like if you don't get enough magnesium, which means you become like a cretin, like kind of a knuckle dragon zombie. Try it out. Scan that, get it, use Daily Cloud as your promotion code. Magnesium, I cannot, I freak out if I think I forgot my magnesium. So now I keep a bottle of this stuff in every house, every car, just so I always have that right before I go to bed. And I always have a great night's sleep. So check it out. You're going to go to this bioptimizers.com/daily clout and use the code daily clout to get 10% off. You'll definitely say, hey, Brian, I tried it. That stuff is awesome. I know Ernie, my cousin, he tried it and he's like, man, I can't get enough of it. There it is. So yeah, so that's where you're going to go, is to bioptimizers.com/daily clout and get 10% off. But this magnesium is so good. And it's like the key type of magnesium that, like, there's a lot of supplements out there. Be careful what you get. Be careful what it's coated with. This stuff is spot on. I can't say enough about it. Super happy with it. Love it. Oh, and we are getting 1775 as a sponsor too. So I cannot wait to start telling you about my favorite coffee. So look, I'm going to leave it at that. The world is mad. Train as a maniac, and know what to do if you get swatted. Let's keep an eye on this. Let's kind of build a pattern of this. Let's keep an eye on like C-SPAN and see what is scheduled in the next week. And let's see if people get swatted. Let's help as much as we can. That's the whole point of this show, is to put together investigations and findings that I can get right to the right people. And, we're pretty well connected, so I can actually get them to the right people. Because one thing, a lot of our law enforcement now, the good law enforcement, they need our help. There's just not enough people. They haven't flushed out all the scumbags yet. And they don't have time to research these things or investigate. So the more we can provide and even make it public record, even by posting it or putting it in a Substack, that really helps a lot, because a lot of times we create leads they hadn't thought of. Okay. They have tons of resources and equipment, but at the end of the day, you just got to be a good detective to get those leads and figure it out. And I'm hoping we can start figuring out even a few of these swatters, the people that are swatting people. If we can find just a few of them, they're going to be made a hefty example of under this administration. So let's go hunting. Places you can go hunting, go to, hold on. Go to Blue Sky. This is a construction here. I've got lumber everywhere. Go to Blue Sky. That's the other Twitter. That's where the kind of liberals hang out now. You'll find a lot of times great leads on there, like people just bragging, saying where the protest is. But let's get some people over there to Blue Sky and start searching for people bragging about swatting. And if you don't know what to do with it, send it to me. I'll give you credit. If you want credit, just tell me how you want me to credit you. But the more people out there investigating everything, the better, because kind of we're all in this together. We can't just elect someone to hope they fix everything. We have the power to do it. We're all maniacs, and we're going to fight these madmen. So on that one, I'm just going to say goodnight, and thanks for joining me, and we will talk again this weekend for sure. Send me your leads to brian@dailyclout.io, or find me on X. Easy to do. It's Brian O'Shea, SPI. And, send me what you have and how you want to be credited if you don't know what to do with it. Or if you write a good Substack, well-sourced, and you make sure I get it, I will definitely feature it if it pertains to what we're talking about, because that way more people can see it. So I appreciate the way you guys help me, and I appreciate helping you as well. So I'm glad we're all working on these kind of things together. A lot of cases to solve. Let's go solve them. Got a few more comments here. I don't want to leave anyone behind. Thanks, Brian. Presentation. No problem. No problem. Thank you. And thanks for your great advice. More to follow. All right, guys. Have a great night. I will talk to you soon.
Trump is fully in the process of draining the swamp, but the uncertainty for many is, will he expose the entire pandemic? There is enough public evidence for folks to be concerned who injected themselves in this experiment. If you were forced to get the shot to work, travel, or maybe you just trusted the system back then, check out this natural solution formulated by Dr. Peter McCullough in collaboration with the Wellness Company. And they just leveled up their original detox formula for $30 less. Introducing the 3-in-1 Ultimate Spike Detox, conveniently consolidated into one capsule, with 4 times more nattokinase, 500 milligrams of bromelain, and 500 milligrams of turmeric root extract. Nattokinase, an enzyme researched for its anti-clotting effects, may work to break down spike proteins. Combined with bromelain and curcumin, it provides a potent blend for detoxification and cellular support. Crafted with 100% natural ingredients, Ultimate Spike Detox is backed by research, offering effective support for your cell's natural repair and recovery. Experience the only formula approved and used by Dr. Peter McCullough, a top freedom-fighting doctor who risked it all. Head to dailycloudhealth.com and use code DailyCloud to get 10% off plus free shipping. Again, that's dailycloudhealth.com and use code DailyCloud to get 10% off. Get back to that pre-COVID feeling.